Hello everyone, it's Mr. Salimata over here, and in today's lesson we'll be doing a continuation on laws of indices. In our previous lesson we looked at three first laws of indices: the product law, quotient law, and power of a power law. And in today's lesson we'll do a continuation of the rest of the laws of indices. Yes, okay, so let's get into this lesson. So our first law of indices we're looking at today is power of a product. And power of a product states that when you have two or more factors raised to an index, you have to distribute the index to all the factors. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Okay, so let's say we have a b raised to the power n. Yes, so we have to what? To distribute this index to all these factors. So that then gives us a to the power n and b power n. Okay, so this is what the power of product law states. Okay, so let's look at an example. So let's say we have 3y raised to 2. Yes, so we distribute the 2 to our two factors here, right? So we have 3 squared and y squared. What's 3 squared? 3 squared is what? Is 9, and y squared, we just leave it like that. Okay, so we have solved this question right here. So let's look at another example. Yes, okay, so let's open our brackets. Yes, we have 2m, yes, raised to the power 3, n, yes, n raised to the power 2, over there. Yes, so what do we have to do? We just have to distribute this index to what? To all the factors that we have here. So that will be what? 2 the power 4. Yes, I want you guys to look carefully here. I'm opening my brackets. Yes, this factor over here, that's m cubed. Yes, raised again to the power 4. My third factor, I'm opening my brackets. Yes, n squared raised to what? The power 4. Right? And our first term here, what will that give us if we evaluate it? That will give us what? 16. Yes, 2 to the power 4 is 16. Yes, let's look at our second term over here. So we have an indices expression here raised to what? To an index, right? So we're going to use what? Power of a power law, and we just have to what? To multiply the two what? The two indices, right? Or the two index. Yes, okay, so that will be what? M 3 multiplied by 4, that's 12, right? Power 12. Our third term here, an index expression is raised to what? To an index. So we just have to multiply the what? The two what? The two indexes, right? Okay, so that what will that give us? That will give us what? N 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. Okay, so we have what? We have solved this expression over here. Okay, so let's look at our second law of indices we're learning today, which is the power of a quotient. And what does it state? So the power of a quotient states that if you have a quotient raised to a single index, you have to what? To distribute the index to the numerator and denominator. Now, how does that look? So let's say if we have a for b raised to n. So all we have to do is what? Is distribute the index to the numerator and denominator. So that gives us a power m, b power n. Yes, let's look at an example. Yes, let's look at an example. So let's say we have x4 raised to 3 over there. So all we have to do is what? Distribute our 3 to the numerator. So we'll have 3x. Yes, and distribute our 3 to the what? To the denominator. Yes, and what does that give us? That gives us what? 3x. Yes, 4 to the power 3. What's that? That gives us 64. Right? There we go. Yes, so we've solved this what? This expression. Let's look at another example. Yes, let's look at another example. So let's say we have 2a raised to the power 7 over 5b raised to the power 3 and raised to the power 2. Yes? Okay, so we have to what? We just have to distribute the what? The index to the terms or the factors in the what? In the numerator and the factors in the denominator, right? Okay, so we'll have 2 power 2, yes, open my brackets, 8 to the power 7, yes, raised to the power 2 over there, 5 raised to what? Power 2, and my b cubed raised to what? Power 2 over there. Yes? Okay, and what are we going to have? Yes, 2 squared, yes, I'm dealing with my numerator. 2 squared is what? That gives us 4, right? Here we're using the power law, right? So we just have to what? To multiply the what? The indices, yes? So that's 7 multiplied by 2 is what? 21. So a power 21 over, yes, 5 squared is what? Gives us 25. Yeah? And this other factor here, you can see we have what? We can see that we're going to use power over power law, right? So because we have what? We have an indices that is raised to another index. So we just have to multiply their what? The index over here, right? So 3 multiplied by 2 gives us what? B6. So here we go, we have what? We have solved this expression, okay? Okay, so now let's look at our third law of indices we're looking at today, yes, which is the zero index, yes, and it states that any number raised to 0 is equal to 1, yes. So let's say if we have b raised to 0, that gives us what? 1, right? Let's look at another example. Let's say we have 5 raised to 0. What does that give us? That still gives us 1, right? Okay, so how about this expression over here? Yes, 5xy over 2x3 y4 is raised to 0. What does that give us? That still gives us 1. Yeah? Let's look at another example. Yes? We have -2. Yes? Open our brackets. X y squared equal to 0. Raised to the power 0, right? It's raised to 0. What do you think would be the solution here? Yeah? Okay, so let's look at this part over here. It's raised to what? To 0. So this part here will be what? Will be 1. Yes? And we have -2 there. Yes? So we're multiplying here. So that will give us what? -2. Okay? So this is what the zero index law states. Okay? So now let's look at our other law of index. Okay? Of indices. Yeah? Okay, so let's look at our other law of indices, yes, which is negative index law, yes, and it states that if you have a negative index, you have to take its reciprocal, or if you have an expression raised to a negative index, you have to take its reciprocal. So how does that look like? Let's take a look, yes. So let's say we have b, yes, raised to -n. So we have to take its what? Its reciprocal, yes? So that would be 1, yes? B raised to what? To n, yeah? Let's try to look at an example, yes? So let's say we have x raised to -3, right? So we have to take what? Its reciprocal. So we will have 1 x raised to 3, right? Let's take another example. That's going to involve numbers, yes? So let's say we have 5 raised to the power -2. So first, let's take its reciprocal, which is 1 over 5 to the power 2. Yes. And we'll have what? What's 5 squared? That's 25. Right? Okay, let's look at a different example. Yes. So let's say we have 3 over 4 raised to negative 2, the power negative 2. Yes. So we have to take the reciprocal here. Yes. And the reciprocal will be what? Will be 4 over 3 raised to the power 2. Yes. And if we look at this expression over here, we know that we can use what? Power of a quotient law, right? So we can distribute the 2 to what? To the numerator and the denominator, right? So the numerator will have what? Be 4 squared over, the denominator will be what? Will be 3 squared. Okay? And what will that give us? 4 squared is what? Is 16. And 3 squared is 9. Yes? Okay, so there we go. We have what? We have simplified our question over here. Yeah? Okay, so now let's take a look at our last laws of indices that we are learning today, which is fractional index law. Yes? So when it comes to fractional index law, yes, fractional index law represents a root and possibly a power. Yes? What does that mean? So let's say we have a raised to a fraction m over n. Yes? Okay, so we have a numerator and a denominator, right? So this denominator over here, let me just remove that. This denominator over here tells us what? The root. Yes? And this m over here tells us the power. Yes? Power to raise it to. Yeah? So how then would that look like? That will be, I'll open my brackets. Remember, the denominator, yes, tells us the what? The root. Yes. And the numerator tells us what? The power to raise it to. Okay? So this is what fractional index law states. Okay? So let's do an example. Okay? So let's say we have a raised to 1 over 3. Yes? So if we have to simplify it, yes, the denominator is the what? Is the power, right? And the numerator is the what? Sorry, the denominator is the root, which is cube there. Yes, cube root. And the numerator is the what? Is the power. So the numerator is 1, so we can just leave it like that, right? So we have what? We have simplified it. Yeah? Okay, so now let's take a look at another example. So let's say we have 8 raised to 2 over 3. Yes? And we say that the denominator is the what? Is the root, right? Okay, so yes? And the numerator is the power we're raising it to. Yes? And we know the cube root of 8 is what? The cube root of 8 is 2. Yes? Remember, we're raising it to 2. Yes? And 2 to the power 2 is what? Is 4. Right? So this is how we can apply fractional index law. Yes? So I hope you guys have learned how we can use the laws of indices. Yes? In our next lesson, we're going to be looking at a couple of questions involving laws of indices. Yeah? Thank you so much.